So today we're going to be talking about writing equations in one variable. Our essential question today is, how does rewriting a word problem help you to solve the word problem? Our goals are going to be writing word sentences as equations. So translating from English into math and taking meaning from math and putting it into English. Our key vocabulary for today is to know the difference between expressions and equations. So an equation is a mathematical sentence that uses an equal sign to show that two expressions are equal. So an expression is going to be a bunch of this math stuff over here, where we can have numbers or we can have letters, and we're also going to have our math operators, which is going to be those addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, square roots, powers, all of that, okay, can be in expressions, okay? Now, the difference is when we get to an equation has an equal sign. So it has that equals 12. As soon as it has that equal sign, you are then setting two expressions equal to each other, which then creates an equation. So to write a word sentence as an equation, you're going to be looking for keywords or phrases such as is, the same as, or equals to determine where to place an equal sign. Some other things that we're going to be looking out for are keywords that are going to tell us which operator we're going to be using, whether or not it's going to be a plus sign, a minus sign, a division sign, or a multiplication sign. So we're going to write these word sentences as equations and then find the value of the variable. So as we look at this, the sum of a number n and 7 is 15. So since we see that we are talking about the sum, that means we know we are going to be using addition. And we are going to be adding n and the number 7, and then we can know that this is going to be referring to our equal sign. So on one side we have one expression, on the other side we have our other expression. So we know the sum of a number n and 7 is equal to 15. So the sum of n and 7, so that's n plus 7, is equal to 15. So now we're going to try and figure out the value of n. So we need to ask ourselves, what number plus 7 is equal to 15? Well, 8 plus 7 is equal to 15, so n is going to be equal to 8. Now, a number y decreased by 4 is 3. So if we have the number y, and we are going to decrease y by something, that means we're going to be using subtraction. So we're going to have y minus 4 because it is being decreased by 4, and that is going to be equal to the number 3. So that's going to be equal to 3. So now we need to ask ourselves, what number, when we decrease it by 4, is equal to 3? So some number minus 4 equals 3. Well, we know that 7 minus 4 is equal to 3, so we can say y is equal to 7. So we're going to continue on with this. We have 12 times the number p equals 48. So we're looking at this. We see our first number here is 12. Times tells us we're going to be multiplying. And we're going to be multiplying 12 times by the number p. And this equals tells us where our equal sign goes, and it's going to be equal to 48. So we have 12 times by p is going to be equal to 48. So we need to ask ourselves, what can we multiply by 12 to give us 48? And we know that 12 times 4 is 48, so we can say p will then be equal to 4. Now a number m added to 3 equals 15. So we're taking m, we're going to be adding, which means we're going to be using addition. We're going to add m to the number 3. So m plus 3 is going to be equal to 15 because it is equals and 15. So that's going to be giving us our expression. When we have m plus 3 equals 15, we can ask ourselves, what plus 3 is equal to 15? We know 12 plus 3 is equal to 15, so m is going to be equal to 12. We're going to be writing this word sentence as an equation, then finding the value of a variable. So the difference of a number w and 6 is the same as 12. So we know by the difference that we are going to be using subtraction. Then we're looking for the difference between w and 6. So if we're looking for the difference between w and 6, we're going to take w minus 6, and that is going to be equal to 12 because it is the same as 12 will tell us that is our equal sign, and 12 will be our other side. So W minus 6 is equal to 12, so we can ask ourselves what minus 6 is equal to 12, so W is equal to 18. Now 22 is twice a number H, so we can look at this, we can say 22 is, and is tells us where our equal sign is, and twice is telling us to multiply a number by 2, and that number is H, so we can say 22 is equal to 2 times a number H. So we can ask ourselves what times by 2 is equal to 22, so we can say H is going to be equal to 11. So go ahead and try these ones on your own. Go ahead and write the word sentence as an equation, then find the value of those variables. Once you're done with that, go ahead and resume the video to see if your answers match up with mine. For problem number 1, we see that 9 less than a number b is equal to 2. So since we're 9 less than a number, that actually means we're going to take that number and decrease it by 9. So 9 less than a number is going to tell us take b and minus 9 because we're 9 less than b. So b minus 9 is going to be equals to 2. That tells us where our equal sign and what's on the other side. So b minus 9 is equal to 2. So what minus 9 is equal to 2? Well, we can say b should be equal to 11 because 11 minus 9 is equal to 2. So number k is increased by 10 is the same as 24. So if we look at this, the number k is going to be increased by, which tells us that we're going to be using addition. So k increased by 10 is the same as, tells us that that is our equal sign, 24. So k plus 10 is equal to 24. So what plus 10 is equal to 24? We know 14 plus 10 is equal to 24, so k should be equal to 14. Now, the product of a number g and 5 is 30. So the product tells us that the answer to a multiplication problem is going to be 30. So we know that that multiplication needs to be the number g and 5. So we can say g times by 5 is going to be equal to 30. So as we do that, we will then be able to figure out g, because what times 5 is equal to 30? We know 6 times 5 is equal to 30, so g is equal to 6. And the quotient of a number q and 4 is 14, so as we're looking at the quotient, that tells us the answer to a division problem is 14. So the quotient of a number q and 4 is 14, so q divided by 4 is equal to 14. So we can then say that q divided by 4 is 14. We can ask ourselves what divided by 4 is equal to 14. And we can say then that q is equal to 56 because 56 divided by 4 is equal to 14. So as we look at this one right here, we are writing an equation. 10 servers decorate 25 tables for a wedding. Each table is decorated as shown. Let C be the total number of white and purple candles. Which equation can you use to find C? So as we look at this, we are going to be trying to figure out this equation. The first thing that we are going to do anytime we are solving an equation is to find out our variable. Our variable in this case is C, and they said that right here that they're going to let C be the total number of white and purple candles. So we need to just say that let C be the total number of candles on the table. Then as we're looking at this situation, we have a couple of things up here. We have the 10 servers. We know that there are 25 tables. We know that each table is decorated as shown, which means that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 purple candles and 1, 2, 3, 4 white candles. So as we're looking at, we're looking for the total number of white and purple candles. So that is 4 plus 6, which is equal to 10. So we have 4 white and 6 purple for 10 total. Okay. Now as we look at all this information, we need to decide which information is useful and relevant. In this case, it's not important for us to know how many servers there are. There could be 1,000 servers, but as long as they are decorating the 25 tables in the way that's specified, that's not going to tell us how many purple and white candles are being used. What is important is that we know how many tables there are and how many candles are on each table. So Using that information, we can say that the total number of candles is the number of tables times by the number of candles on each table. So we can say that since we know the number of candles is the number of tables times by the number of candles on each table, we can say that the total number of candles, which would be either 10 or in this case, let's use 4 plus 6, we could say, oh no, wait, we let C equal to that number. So we're going to let our variable C be equal to the number of tables, which is 25, times by the number of candles on each table, which we are letting be 4 plus 6, which in this case would tell us that our answer is going to be B, because we can say C is equal to 25 times by 4 plus 6. So in example number 2 here, we are going to be writing an equation. Again, we're looking at 10 servers decorating 20 tables for a party. Each table has 4 red candles and 3 white candles. We're again going to let C be the total number of red and white candles, and writing an equation that we can use to solve for C. So again, the first thing that we always do in this situation is we need to define our variable. So we're going to let C be the total number of candles. Once we know that, we can use the same kind of logic that we used in our last problem in order to set up an equation this time around. We can say that the total number of candles is the number of tables times by the number of candles on each table. So as we set it up this way, we're going to be looking for the total number of candles, in which case we can say that there are 4 red candles and there are going to be 3 white candles for a total number of 7 total candles on each table. So we can say this will be 4 plus 3 on each table, times that by the total number of tables, which in this case is going to be 20 tables, and that should then be equal to the total number of candles, which we said would be C. So we have C is equal to 20 times by 4 plus 3. So writing that out, we have C is equal to 20 times by 4 plus 3. So in this case, we are looking at after 2 rounds, 24 students are eliminated from a spelling bee. There are 96 students remaining. We want to write an equation we can use to find the number of students that started the spelling bee. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to define our variable. So since they didn't tell us what variable we are going to use, we're just going to use S. So we're going to say that S is the number, or we're going to say let S equal the number of students who started the spelling bee. So now that we said let S equal the number of students who started the spelling bee, we can start about by looking at this for important information in order to see how we could use that information to solve this problem. So we know that that was after 2 rounds. We know there are 24 students who are eliminated, and we know that there are 96 students remaining in the competition. Okay, so using this information, we can then write an equation that will help us solve for the total number of students who started the spelling bee. Now there's 3 different directions that we can go here. First, we can see that S should be equal to the 24 plus the 96. So we're saying that the total number of students who started should be equal to number of students eliminated plus the number of students remaining. And that is one way that we can set that up. A second way that we can set that up is to say that S minus 24 is going to be equal to 96. And we can say that because that is the total number of students who started the spelling bee minus the 24, which is the number of students eliminated, should be equal to the number of students who remain. Okay? And finally, the last way that we can set this up is we could say that S minus 96 is going to be equal to 24, and that's because the total number of students who started minus the students who are still in the spelling bee, so the students who remain, should be equal to the number of students who were eliminated. Number of students eliminated. Okay, and now that we have set up all three of those equations, those are the three primary ways that we could think about solving this problem. So as we look at this one, it's almost the same thing where we are looking at after 3 rounds, 15 students are eliminated from a geography bee, and there are 55 students remaining, and we want to write an equation we can use to find the number of students that started the geography bee. So again, the first thing that we do is we define our variable. So we're going to let S equal the total number of students who started the geography bee. Okay? Now that we've done that, we can set up our equation. And again, there's 3 different ways of thinking about this. We could say that the total number of students should be equal to the 15 students who were eliminated plus the 55 students who were remaining. The other way that we could look at this is we could say that the total number of students who started minus the 15 students who were eliminated should be equal to the 55 students who are remaining. And the third way that we could look at this is we could say that the total number of students who started minus the number of students who are still remaining, which is that 55, should be equal to the number of students who were eliminated from the tournament. And these are 3 different ways that we can set up this equation in order to solve for the total number of students who are still, who started that geography bee. So go ahead and try this on your own. Go ahead and write out each of these equations, and remember to define your variable in each case. Once you've done that, go ahead and resume the video to make sure that your understanding is lining up with mine. So for problem number 1, you enter an elevator and go down 7 floors. You exit on the 10th floor. On what floor did you enter the elevator? So let's let F equal the floor you got on the elevator. Okay, now we could say that F minus 7 is equal to 10 because we got on floor F, we went down by 7 floors, and we got off on the 10th floor, and that would help us solve for F. Okay, now on this next problem here, together you and a friend have $52, your friend has $28. How much money do you have? So we would set M, let M be equal to the money you have. Okay. Now we can say that you and your friend both have $52 together. If you take away the $28 your friend has, all that should be left would be the money that you have, which we have, equaling M. Now, a typical person takes about 2,400 breaths each day. So we want to write an equation that we can use to find the number of breaths a typical person takes each minute. So the way that we could do this is we could let B equal the number of breaths per minute of a typical person. Okay? Now, we want to write an equation that helps me find B. So we could say, hey, I know that there are 24,000 breaths each day. I can divide that day into 24 hours. So that would then give me the 24,000 breaths divided into 24 hours, which means I would have then breaths per hour. I could then take this number and divide it by 60 to get breaths per minute, which is exactly what I want to solve for. So I could say that 24,000 divided by 24 divided by 60 would give me my breaths per minute. So go ahead and put this into your notes. Go ahead and make sure that you are working this out on a piece of paper, and then once you've done that, go ahead and resume the video to make sure that you are lining up your understanding with mine. We want to just set up all of these equations and make sure that we are understanding how to start the process of solving them. So we are going to write the word sentence as an equation. The sum of a number x and 5 is equal to 20. So since we're talking about the sum, we're going to be adding, we're adding x and 5, and that should be equal to the number 20. So x plus 5 is going to be equal to 20. Now 64 equals tells us where our equal sign goes. 33 more than a number y. Since it's more than a number, what means we're going to be adding. So we can say 64 is going to be equal to 33 plus y, because that will give me 33 more than y. Now a number c decreased by 12 is 4. So since we have the number c being decreased by 12, we can say c minus 12 should be equal to 4. It is telling us again where our equal sign is. Now, on this next one, 10 is the quotient of a number s and 8. Quotient being the answer to a division problem, so we can say 10 is the quotient of a number s and 8. So we can say 10 is equal to s divided by 8. And for problem number 5 here, we can say that you went to a grocery store, or you went grocery shopping with $40.65. You left the store with $5.10. Write an equation that you can use to find the cost C of the groceries. So we're going to let C be the cost of the groceries. We can then say that if I started with $40.65 and I take away that $5.10 that I had left over at the end, it should be equal to the cost of the groceries that I had at the store. Another way of looking at it is if I have that $40.65 and I take away the cost of my groceries in the store, it should be equal to that $5.10 left over.